Andrea, that's Sanaa Lathan, and Chris. So Andrea and her husband, Chris, who's played by Rockman Dunbar. I like to call this when you look down on your spouse. Because we see, as the film opens, we see, them getting ready for the wedding that's taking place at the big Cartwright mansion. And Andrea is like, should I really marry? And, we also see that Chris has a little bit of cold feet too. So Ben is talking Chris down when he's, separate from her. And then Pam is in there with Andrea and they're both encouraging them and whatever. And obviously they decide to get married and they do get married, right? But it's at their wedding when Andrea, I guess I could say, reconnects with William, because they were aware of each other. Their mothers had been friends for 30 years, but they hadn't been in the same place, right? And they got married when Andrea was just about to graduate college. And so she, Chris is at the wedding, obviously, because he got married. And then so the three of them meet and it's all innocent. You see Andrea's all happy to introduce her new husband to William at the wedding and everything. And the cold feet seem very normal, right? At this point. And, so you're like, okay, maybe it's not going to be so bad. And then, it's like 4 years later, because you know how Tyler does it, right?
I'm Heit.
And I'm Cheri.
And you've discovered Axiom Amnesia.
We want to thank all of the supporters who helped to make this video possible. If you want your name to appear alongside these contributors, make a one-time donation via Cash App, or you can head on over to patreon.com/axiomamnesia to enjoy all of the benefits of becoming a monthly subscriber. 4 years later, we see her coming in, right? And she's all fancy from work. She's, clicking her heels around everywhere with her mama and sister. But with her husband, she's just totally disrespectful. She has no respect for him whatsoever. She makes it obvious that she don't want to be dealing with him. And in the beginning, we don't know why she's acting so funky, but it's revealed that she's cheating with William.
Come on now, it's very easy to just not be with the person, man.
Just leave. Why you didn't just leave him alone? And we also see that she has a baby, which, in the big dun-dun-dun moment of the film is revealed that the baby is not her husband's, that it belongs to William. She's like, he's a Cartwright, which kind of leads us back around to the slap scene that we were talking about. So everything that Andrea does, right? Andrea is like, and we got to run it down. She disrespected her husband. She doesn't want him to start a business. She don't want to talk him to even, she's embarrassed of him, really. They work for the same company. She's like, don't even come around here. The people upstairs, they know she fooling around with William. They don't even know she's married. Don't come to the big house. You stay over there on the construction
so part
side.
of it is kind of like what we were talking about, right? She was like, oh, you start stuttering when you get around these type of people. But when I get around them, I'm not like that. He did kind of show up to her job like in a flannel shirt, bro, though. But anyway, we talk about how
he was doing the best.
Yeah, he was doing the best he can and kind of helping people, because you kind of do got to be like winning Rome. I'm not saying it's right or that I agree with it, but sometimes you just got to. And so you had that whole aspect and how she looked up to that, right? And just because you in that position, or, you amongst them now because your mama knew somebody, right? Then you got your butt on your back. As Cheri's mama would say.
Yes.
You got your butt on your back. So then that's how it culminates in you'll never be a Cartwright. And she was Cartwright, but she was aspiring to be that. She was doing all the things to be in that position, but all she needed was that ring from the Cartwright, the pasty man.
She was straight delusional, though. Like, what makes you think? And we talk about class a whole lot here. And she had some major challenges. It's more than, hey, I went and got myself a good fancy degree and got in, and I worked, a high powered position at this job. You were not really going to jump class like that. It just was never going to happen. Everybody knew it but her. So she treated her husband like crap, and she was like, you're never going to be him. And, they're talking about the kid when they finally have this whole, confrontation, and she's like, he's a Cartwright.
Yeah.
I was just like,
So
man.
He doesn't even know that they've been smashing. He's just, I don't know. Everybody.
Because he trusted her and he's a good, decent guy.
Ben is just like, yo, everybody knows. Wait, what? Everybody knows? And this is like your best friend?
Yeah, like, why you didn't tell him?
Everybody knows, bro.
And we need to talk about that, so like in this moment of rage, after being embarrassed, because she don't say this when they're by themselves, right?
She did, right?
No, that she said it in front of other people.
Oh, you mean that specific part?
Yeah, because he smacked her in front of everybody. He was, and I shouldn't laugh because it's never right. But
wait, what you mean it's never right?
It's not right to physically assault people.
It's right sometimes. Yes, it is.
Well, okay, go to the comments, y'all. Is it ever right? Was Rockman Dunbar's character Chris? Was he right for what he did? Is it ever right?
That's two different questions.
Is it ever right to do it on the basis of words that someone said to you? Words, because that's really what it was here.
Yes.
She didn't swing at him. Okay, all right, go ahead and make your case.
I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna just say, okay, somebody come up to me and they be like, nigger. All right, so we got a problem. It might be more than just a smack. You know what I'm saying? So, you remember that what happened to that one dude? An old dude called it to a young dude, and I think the dude died.
Oh, I kind of vaguely remember something like that. But
you know what I'm saying? Well, hey, watch what you say. Sometimes, it's just like, oh, words don't, that's how they try to get you, right? They just come and they just keep, but I didn't touch you, but I didn't touch you, but I didn't touch you.
Okay, so this is one of the areas where my personal creed definitely diverges from what I feel like it would be very difficult to resist doing, because I would want to get busy in the moment, I'm not even a fighter like that. But,
turkey.
I may want to, enact some type of physical retribution for something like that, which my creed says it's not right to just, if they didn't hit you, it's not right for you to just start laying hands on people. And then let's talk about this too. This is doing it to your spouse,
Yeah.
Like that's so this ain't a stranger off the street, but that mouth was reckless. That mouth was reckless.
It's crazy how everybody just think that, this was okay though. Now, more specifically,
yes.
In this situation, was it right?
Okay, so this is where I have to strive to be a better person, and I would say that it's absolutely not right, because
really?
she did not do something physical to him. She ain't come up with no, you know what I'm saying?
From
she
all
didn't
that you know
him.
about everybody in these movies. So when we watch the movie, we know more than the individual characters. So from everything we know, that's your answer. Okay, I'm gonna agree with you on that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, but because nothing happened to William, right? He went up there and he kind of tussled them. I think he should have dropped him off of that thing.
Yeah. Like, should have not. See what I'm saying? Like, but I feel like I could understand how angry Chris was in that moment, how embarrassed, because this is his whole life. This is a lie. And then, like, when you bust out and you say it with no remorse that that's not your child.
Yeah,
that was nasty.
But see, that's what I'm
work.
saying. But how do I compare that to the Cartwright family and what they do and have been doing, and even what he was trying to do with his own mama, who kind of turned good?
Well, we can talk about
so
that,
that's what
right?
I'm saying,
we
like,
can talk
knowing,
about that when we get to those individual relationships.
But that's what I'm talking about when I say knowing everything about all of these people. The thing is, how bad is it in the real grand scheme of things? All right, okay, I took care of this kid for however long. Maybe, I don't even know if you just cut off the relationship with the kid at that point, but if you so choose, then it's just over right there, right? You have no more real obligation because if you can prove it, right?
Yeah.
That's, you know what I'm saying? So once this divorce come or whatever, it's over.
Done.
I'm moving on.
But see, the part of it, and we were talking about earlier, is we have a couple of people in this film who were exceptionally moral people, and Alice and but we saw some, little bit of chips in the armor with Alice, with, how she was making her money and stuff too. But I didn't see anything that Chris did wrong. Chris did nothing wrong. He was faithful to his wife. He was trying to upgrade them. He did the best with what he had, and he got done so dirty and so wrong. And not even like she was like, oh, I can't even tell him this ain't his kid. She boldly proclaimed it. It wasn't even like it was, oh, I'm sorry about it. She was not sorry about a thing. She was just blatantly disrespectful and just wrong. So that's what I say about that. But he stepped up, and he, even at the end, we see he had a bond with the child. He still loves the child. He was bringing by money to make sure that child wasn't on the streets, but he had his limit. He had his limit. His limit was, I'm not finna be with you, and I'm not going to be living with this kid. That's your kid. But I am not going to just leave a kid out there with no support. Although he really could have, because the kid's grandma is a millionaire. But he did the quote right thing that he did the right thing up to the point that he could, and so he made sure the kid didn't go hungry and whatever. So you said that you thought that Chris should have went on and knocked him off that building when he when he knocked him out.
State it like that, but yeah, he's supposed to just drop them wherever they were, right?
Let's see what y'all say in the comments about this. Chris was Tanisha says Chris was right because of her actions. They were awful. I think it was built up anger. I agree with you. And her saying the son was the final straw. I agree. That was the straw that broke the camel's back when he said that wasn't his baby. That was just so hurtful and terrible. Mark Johnson says, I don't condone DV in general, no matter who starts it. However, for the purposes of this movie, I don't fault Chris for, backhanding her. She emasculated him, and she cheated on him and lied to him.
Yeah.
And in this case, I would, it's kind of like in that category of where, given what the outcome was, because it'd be different if he just kept drilling on her. You know what I'm saying?
And
but he didn't.
But also the movie part of it too, right? Because in movies you see, all right, somebody did something like what's the one? The Wick movies, right?
Mm-hmm,
I didn't realize till I really went and watched it. So if you don't know, John Wick, they got this whole series, and he's really doing this because somebody off this cat, and he's just going around and he's getting revenge, bruh.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. And then you have the Taken movies, which is kind of like, I need to do this too. But we watch movies so that we have these situations like this. Oh, somebody do this to me. This is what I want to do.
Yeah,
I wish I could do.
Yeah, we live vicariously through these characters.
It's kind of weird to be like, I really want to smack my wife or somebody if they did.
Yeah, like I just think, I don't even know that he could control his response there. I think he was just so outraged, caught off guard, because he was legitimately confused even in that moment, not understanding what was happening, because he just was, he just was unawares.
Right.
And so I get it. I just feel like I'm not losing sleep over what happened, because she was okay after it went on, and life is complicated. But again, I can't say that what happened was right, because it wasn't to me.
Angel Smith say, I don't mean to be a butthole, but did her husband not know his son is not his biological son? He doesn't even look like him. Maybe he was he was wearing his love goggles. But I think so that's the problem with movies. It's kind of, the whole look-alike thing don't always work. But maybe if they would have got somebody who was drastically different, right?
Yeah. Who looked like,
who looked very
like his
mixed.
Real daddy, so to speak.
Yeah, who looked very mixed with some red hair. It probably would have been.
Yeah. Takisa says, Andrea was sloppy with her moves. I feel like her husband felt something, but willingly chose to play blind. And Blossom Possum says,
I don't know.
Chris was totally excused from the assault.
I don't know if that's willful, right? Because let's say, all right, I got married. We chose to get married. Everything was fine, right? And I trust my partner. I don't even question nothing, right?
Yeah.
So why would I be thinking about, man, he kind of don't look like me, or you know what I'm saying?
Grape Tea News has me over here laughing, talking about Chris did the right thing by clearing out her bank account.
Bro, that's what I'm about to say. He walked away and he got the money too.
Yeah, because, so for those of you who don't know, in the film, what happens is Chris, this is how he's adding up to things not being right. At one point he goes to take a withdrawal from their bank account, that's their joint bank account, and only discovers that there's another, quote, secret bank account, but his name is on it and whatever, that has like a few $100,000 in it, right? And he's like, whoa, where did this money come from? So he becomes suspicious of certain things, but still not the idea that she's cheating with William, right? So then when he's unable to get the loans, even after talking to William and being like, you want to be an investor and whatever, but William plays him to the left. And he's like, okay, I done got fired from this job, because William had decided to fire, him. I fired, so now I'm just about to go take this money that I know we have, and we're starting our business, right?
Bruh.
And she flipped. She was like, this is my money. You stealing, this is my money that I earned, because she earned it on her back, you know what I'm saying? And so she was like, don't take my money. You trying to give me my money, bring my money back. And she was not in agreement with that at all. Grape Tea News also says something interesting. Chris should have cut ties with her and the kid. William would have pressed all the charges on Chris and sued him. Way too risky. Talking about if he had thrown him off the day, he wouldn't have been able to sue
I know, right? Somebody else would sue, but oh well, that's what happens, right? Sue me all you want. I ain't got nothing to begin with.
I'm going to jail today.
So why was she just like, fire my husband? So because it's Tyler Perry, he's not really the king, or I don't even know if he's a champion of subtlety, right? So the bad characters just got to be bad. She's just like, I think you just should go ahead and fire my husband. What?
But see, okay, let me just also say, I need to correct myself, because I did say earlier, I don't think Chris did anything wrong. Chris was wrong by taking that money out that bank account without having a conversation. Chris was wrong because at that point, he didn't really feel like anything was going on that was untoward. He should have talked to her. But he didn't, and he went and took that money. Was like, "Hey, look, we got this money. I'm about to make these money moves."
What's his name, Miles? Right?
Yeah. Just like soul food. A lot of parallels with soul food in this movie. Do you think that though Ben was wrong for not telling Chris that everybody knew that William and his wife?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, but I don't know. Will I tell my friend? Probably, if everybody is saying it. But do I assume that the other person knows too, right? Because if I think everybody knows, then I think they know, and then I bring it up like, like, that might be a little, that might put him over the edge, and he toss me off the platform, right? So I don't know.
I think that Ben, it's like that whole I'm staying out of it thing. I don't want to get in it thing. But see, it had gone way too far. When everybody at the job is talking about it, it's one thing if you become aware of something and not everybody knows. But when the person who is your friend is being made a fool of, part of it is like you got to pull them aside and be like, look here, I'm not trying to cause no trouble nowhere. But, my friendship with you dictates that I need to protect you in this way. And this is what's happening, man. And I just want you to know.
I just want you to know.
A tough conversation,
very tough.
But what a real friend would do. So I do think that Ben was wrong for that. But I mean, that's a small wrong, right? That's even the wrong of moving compared to the wrongs that other people in this film did. Chris taking that money and Ben not telling Chris about the people talking about him behind his back and his wife sleeping with the big man upstairs. Those are small compared to people talking about this is your child and it ain't really.
So maybe you were wrong a little bit too about. I think at that point he was suspecting something, like you doing something nefarious or wrong, right? Not necessarily infidelity.
Yeah.
All right. So that's probably one reason why he's like, well, I'll just take the money. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's looking at all the numbers like, hold up, something ain't adding up here.
Because she makes $65,000 a year. How you got in 4 years? How do you have this much saved up?
Take the money.
I'm gonna just spend it. But it was still wrong. So now we should talk about what you guys have been waiting for. We're all warmed up now. We got to talk about Andrea, that's Sanaa Lathan's character, and William, that's Cole Hauser, their affair. Now, I like to call this one when you're his dirty little secret. How is it, do y'all think? Because she was his dirty little secret.
Wait, who is Hauser?
Cole Hauser is William.
Name.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the actor's name. And actually, he's the son of, what's his name? Somebody help me. He was in a bunch of movies from the 80s. Hauser.
Doogie Hauser?
No,
that's the only Hauser
that's the
I know.
Character.
I know.
He's somebody's son. He's a Nepo baby.
Let me look him up.
But anyway, so we have Andrea and William. And Andrea is William's dirty little secret because this is who they're both cheating. They're both married, okay? But William, this is what I'll say about William. William saw Andrea coming. He knew because he's the king of manipulation. He's used to being rich and privileged and interacting with people who are not and figuring out how do I need to position them in my life to exploit them. It was nothing for William to buy things for her when he's a multimillionaire. It's nothing for rich people to make people who don't have as much money feel special by throwing money their way, because it's not really a sacrifice when you have so much money. So at the wedding, when Andrea is getting married, you could see he's feeling her right there. He's like, oh yeah, I want to hint that, how am I going to position her? She could come work for the company or whatever. I could put her off to the side. It'd be a nice little, and he could have a nice little situation. He never intended for her to be respectable in his life. Yeah, Cole Hauser definitely, Nita, was in higher learning, because that was, I forgot the guy's name, but the head of the boot-wearing guys that don't have hair. I don't want to say it.
Heads, yes. So his father is Wings Hauser, who is Lieutenant Byrd in A Soldier Story.
Yeah, and does he have an uncle or something? Because I feel like there was another Hauser. But anyway, so he comes from a family of actors. So William saw her, and he knew exactly what type of game. He knew what type of carrot to dangle out. Okay, she's young, she's hungry. Let me just, prime her and get her right. And we know that this was his way of behaving, because when Abby, Robin Givens' character, shows up, he does basically the same thing. Want to get a drink? Because he just want to hit what he could hit. He ain't interested in anything long term. He really wasn't interested in nothing long term with his wife. People who operate like that are just putting people in positions where they can be used in their life, whether that's their wife, whether that's his mama, because he was loyal to no one but himself in that film.
Yeah.
In this film. So that's
the morals of Tyler Perry and Medea, that's just not going to work out for you.
Yeah. But I want to talk about how Andrea, though, deluded herself into thinking that she was on William's level, like she was really going to be able to jump classes and William was going to see her like this. And notice how when we saw William interact with her, he never was like, yeah, we're going to be together. That was always Andrea talking. He just didn't clarify, he just didn't say no. But he never said, I'm inviting you to be in my life like this. Yeah, we going to run away. Yeah, I'm leaving. Why? He ain't never said a thing like that.
What did he do? He said, we meet every week.
Yes.
Is it every week? Yeah, every Wednesday, I guess. Like, dang, you only get a day too? That's kind of crazy.
He say every Wednesday we going to come up here and the people in here can laugh at you and while I make a fool of you. But, you can come over here and get smashed and then that's it. And I'm going to still go home and I'll give you a little money and you could drive a Benz. But, that's all it is, right? But she really in her heart believed that she was having a future with this guy, which is just crazy to me. So let's talk about the gala. Or the gala.
The gala.
I say the gala. So they're supposed to be having this, whatever event that's for work. And the whole point in the movie and the plot is so that everybody comes there, William and his wife, Jillian. And we have Chris, who didn't even know. Chris wasn't going to even be able to go to the gala, right? Because his wife wasn't inviting him there. Sanaa Lathan's character, Andrea, wasn't trying to have her husband there. So... but it happens that Abby, that's Robin Givens' character, Abby's like, hey, you should be you're coming to the gala, right? And she's like, shame on you for not inviting your husband. So this is how he found out. So, Andrea is like rolling her eyes by the fact now she's got to bring her husband. So they show up, the two couples, right? And one cheater on each of the couple sides. And you got to kind of feel a little sorry for Jillian, because Jillian seems to be devoted to her husband and he's stepping out on her and she's starting to suspect that it's with Andrea. And it's really kind of confirmed for her at this party because she winds up leaving early. But Andrea and William are just bold.
Yeah.
They done snuck off at the party together with both of their spouses there upstairs kissing and carrying on.
Right. So we do get Charlotte telling her, right, later on, right? So we know, like, that's what part of being at these levels. It's what Kevin Samuels.
Brett, I'm not even.
No, but that's what he was talking about, right? You want somebody like William. That's just what you got to go through. Don't worry about it, because that's what you want, right? And she stayed too, right? But yeah, so that's why he is so willing to do that, because he know none of this is going to affect him in that way, right? But then maybe that's a question though. But like Andrea, and did she really love her husband, right? Or is she just trying to climb her way up in society somehow too, right? Because I think she did care about keeping that relationship.
The one with the husband?
Yeah, with Chris, right? I think she cared about that. So she got more to lose is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
William, he just see it as, it's just a little minor inconvenience, but she is just blowing up her entire life. Right?
But that was
by
her
doing
plan,
this. That's the
because she
risk.
thought she was going to just make the smooth transition from.
Well, see, it's not smooth if you get caught at this party too, right? So that's what I'm saying. So that's how I look at that. So it's really bold on her part. With William, it's kind of like, yeah, whatever, 2 dozen or half of whatever, however the saying go. What's the saying?
6 in one hand and half a dozen in the other.
You know?
Another question that I had on this, talking about this, is did William ever see his son though? Like, because, William's son was being raised by another man. Was this what the money was for? Like, this is my kid? Because at the end, when she's, and I shouldn't laugh like I do, but at the end, when she's she's like, William, we could be together now. And he peels off in that car and she like
he
collapses.
Off faster than your boy and
oh man,
Why Did I Get Married?
When he hit that, when that truck hit him.
Yeah.
But, he peeled off on her and she like collapsed.
He said, I got to get that clip.
She just collapsed after it happened. And I was like, that's what you get. But because this was just all of her bad actions slapping her in the face in that moment, literally. And she was just like, William, and he just pulls off. But one thing she said before, she's like, I have your son. We have a son. He say, do I? Do I have a son with you?
Dang.
That was just some cold-blooded. But see, that's who William is. That's who he was the whole time. He never invited you to be over there. Let me tell you some good advice that I got from one of my aunts way back in the day. And this is why y'all need aunts and aunties, uncles, and older people in your family. Maybe that's not your parents, because those relationships when they're your aunts and uncles, you kind of you feel maybe a different type of camaraderie because there isn't the sort of the potential penalties from your parent, right? And my aunt told me, she said, listen, you got to listen to what you are invited to, by a man. Like if he hadn't asked you out, or if he hadn't said this is the play, if he hadn't said this is what I'm intending on doing, don't you start making stuff in your own mind about what it's about to be. Now, it's a whole nother thing if he's one of these, charlatan types that's giving you a bunch of lip service and lies. But I'm talking about the ones who ain't told you nothing, and you in your mind have decided all, you already are singing the wedding bells and talking about what he's planning for you, and you haven't been invited. And that's the shoot. That's what Andrea should have already known. He didn't even invite you. And I'm not taking up for William, because William was totally wrong. But Andrea should have already known that, So to me, that's some good advice. That's that old school advice to let you know kind of how to operate in this. Because a man and a woman who want you, they're going to let you know. They're going to let you know what it is. And if they just want to give you a bonus, then they're not going to be promising and, doing all that other stuff. Yeah. But and then what I would also say, because back to the question of the son, if he really loved her and was looking for a future with her, he would have been interacting with that child. Ain't no way he's going to sit over there and that's his child being raised by another man. Nah, it ain't getting ready to go down like that. So
Robin was the one who worked with her, right? The lady who basically
the receptionist who busts her out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was a real funny part, right? Because so another thing is too, right? So we're talking about class and stuff and basically etiquette, right? In places that you may not be used to. We know that you have these events, you can't just be getting sloppy. You just can't do that, right? So you had Robin, who was she's kind of like the reasonable one in the film. Who's like, yeah, I know these things, right? I'm trying to guide the black women, you know what I'm saying? Try to be a mentor and stuff, right? But, Robin is telling Robin Givens, Abby, that all this stuff that she shouldn't be doing, and she's clearly, a little too gone at the gala.
Yeah, but so she let it slip. Robin did. Julian Reeves had brought that up in the
I don't know if it slips, but see, this is the thing. Everybody knew.
Yeah.
Already, right? But you don't say that. You don't say them parts out loud.
Abby was new and didn't all the way know, right? Because Abby was new to the company. So Abby, Robin Givens' character, didn't know all this was going on. But the people who had been there, they knew what the deal was. And Elijah says Andrea got these by power and money, and it was easy for her to be manipulated because that's what she wanted. And that's true. But see, that's how people who are looking to manipulate you, looking to take advantage of you, all they have to do is figure out what it is you want. And when they offer you that, when they know what carrot to dangle, and it's going to be real hard to turn it down, especially if you need or truly desire those things.
Yep.
So that was how Andrea, got compromised and stuff. But another thing about William, we find out that his wife, Jillian, she's not from his class. So that's even more of a slap to Andrea, because his wife, Jillian, who was white, but she was from a trailer park. And that's what Charlotte says to her later, when they're having the conversation, because Jillian, once she knows that her husband is cheating, she winds up going to Charlotte and, crying to her about what was going on.
They're like, you don't cry to me about no love. What you think this is?
Yeah, she was like, you over here crying. She said, that's why I didn't like you, because you're weak. Oh, man. The movie was a trip.
But see, like, how you say her name? Andrea?
I was saying Andrea, but some people say Andrea.
Andrea. Anyway, so Andrea, she's just she basically like the same way, right? So they're from I would say they're
working class,
working class, or maybe just standard middle class.
Yeah, certainly
right?
just not rich.
Yeah, so you basically the same thing, and you like, I can't believe this other one, but she still got something that's not specifically stated in the film, right? Mm-hmm. She still got something that you ain't never gonna have. Mm-hmm. That's that skin tone. Mm-hmm. And you came too late too. He didn't already got his, right? So
yeah, because he was already married. His wife was at the wedding as well.
Yeah, so you just slid in a little late.
But let me just keep it real. Go to the comments and let us know, if William wasn't married, do you think he would have ever married Andrea? Because that brings us to the conversation that happens in the end. Andrea's mama and her sister are telling her, look, this man was never going. I don't even know what you're doing, because you were never a contender. That's what they trying to tell her. But she was just delusional. Do you think William would have married Andrea if he had met her, or in a timely fashion?
No, because it's like you still gotta have to have a white woman on your arm. Like, that's just how it goes. Right?
Yeah, AG says no way. I agree. He's not marrying you.
Yeah, so it's just how it is. So like when you get into that life, you just gotta adopt all of that, right? Which is why if William was black, what William gotta do? William gotta get him one of them white ones, because when he go to the gala, he gotta present a certain way at the gala.
And do as much as he can to try to
otherwise
assimilate.
you're not getting them contracts. You ain't gonna get them contracts over there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you may be like Chris and be like, yo, I know construction and everything. I'm this great construction guy, but you can't show up in a flannel shirt.
Yeah. Well, and let me just see. Lady Tina G says, Andrea was and always would be his side piece. It was the conquest for William. I agree.
It wasn't much of a conquest.
It was somewhat of a conquest, but think about it. She just helped make his life comfortable, right? She made it easy for him, and it was, no big deal to give her to throw a little bit of money that way.
Made William's life a little more comfortable.
Yeah. Like, he got his little, rock stop on every Wednesday. He had his little side piece in the office.
She was just always there.
She was legitimately working for the company, though. Let's be clear. Like, she wasn't like she didn't work a job and she was lamping around. She wasn't the receptionist. She had a high level job. So there's that. When we were having conversations about, marriage and side people, because this especially happened in our multi-video series on Why Did I Get Married Parts 1 and 2. And we were talking about Trina, the girl who comes with Mike, who is Sheila's husband at first, right? And so you show up to the marriage retreat and you showing up with somebody else's husband, and, they have an affair that, gets exposed in that film. And, we were talking about that, and I'm like, look, one of the things you got to understand is that people are socialized to be, chances are what they're going to be. If you come from a long line of women who are wives, when you get raised, you're being socialized to be that. If you come from a long line of side chicks, then I'll let that be what it is. And that's not to judge anybody for their decisions. I'm saying that to say the same way as doctors produce doctors, although some don't, but we happen to be at a medical school graduation, I don't know what it's 7 or 8 years ago. And I was surprised at how many physicians had children who were graduating from medical school.
The graduates' parents were physicians.
Yes.
One or both of them.
Yes.
Are also physicians.
Yes. Just like lawyers make lawyers and teachers often make teachers and nurses often make nurses.
So what was Pam?
Pam was working the family business, right? She was working the diner.
Pam was her mama.
Pam was becoming her mother. Exactly.
Oh, not Pam. I meant the mama.
The mother.
Alice
was Pam's mother, but Pam was
Andrea, right? Alice is Andrea's mama. What was Alice?
Alice was
she a side? Was she a side
No,
piece?
Alice was a wife. But what happened is Alice's husband left her for another woman. And that's part of the root of what the issue is with Andrea. But yeah, so that's what was going on there. Jenny says the problem with Andrea is she thought the upgrade in job meant an upgrade in everything else. Newsflash, life don't work like that. That's true. Yeah. That's true.
The perceived upgrade.
You don't get an upgrade in class. That's not how class works, because it'll be just like the person who, it don't matter if they go to college or whatever. If they were born in the class that's, vacationing in Martha's Vineyard, they're still in that class. Even if they dropped out in high school, because they got the money and they were born there. They're not really falling to, middle class. And maybe you can marry into that class. There's a few ways you can get the open door, but the best you can hope is the next generation. If you go have some kids by somebody and upgrade the class that way, I don't mean just have kids, but
these are the stats, the studies. This
is the culture.
That's just how it works. That's the point of setting up a system in such a way so that the people with power keep the power, the people with the resources keep the resources and such. And that's how it works.
Yeah. I mean, and you look at back, especially in European history and stuff like that. This is why they were marrying their cousins and stuff. Because they wanted to keep the money and the power in the family.
And basically,
right?
the American experiment is that they came over because they weren't able to, advance over there in Europe. So then they got over here and they created themselves as the higher class, right? And then they were like, move west and you too can be a part of this class. We just need y'all to go over there and you will be rewarded. And once you get it, 200 years later, you still and your family still going to be up there and them niggas going to be at the bottom, right? That's just how it happened.
Yeah, and Elijah says, then in my family, you got a long line of soldiers and nurses and barbers and blue collar workers. You are what you come from, but that doesn't mean you can't move it. That's true. It doesn't mean you can't move up. But what I'm saying to you is that there still has to be like an entrance, and it's more exception. So let's just say you become a lawyer and you make a whole lot of money as an attorney or something like that. Or, an entrepreneur, you get a big business and you get to rub elbows with people who've been in the money class all along, right? But this is why they have terms like new money. This is why. And so let's say you marry into a family with old money, then you can kind of do that. Right. But I would just say, just look at Atlanta. Yeah. You got a lot of rich folks in Atlanta who are new money, and that does not mean that they are upper class.
Sorry, Elijah, I'm going to assume that you're a man. Right. But so let's look at it from the standpoint like the NFL, NBA, those sort of collectives, right? They decide collectively who can come into that class of ownership.
Right.
Somebody say, I'm gonna own a team. They're gonna be like, nah, we voting on this. Nope, not you. Nope, not just so they can maintain that. Right. And it's part of that inertia. And I can't think of the term. It's like resource advantage. Just that those who have the advantage tends to gain more advantage. Right. If you got the resources, you more able to get more resources. You know what I'm saying? And that sort of thing. Right. That's just how it's set up. Right. But a few can kind of break through to make more money. That don't mean you make it into that social class either, though.
What I'm telling you is not the way I think it should be. I'm telling you how it is, right? I think everybody, I don't care what you were born into. Look, we are all human and we are all equal in my mind. But I'm telling you how they look at us, how they look at us regular people. Oh, it's not, they're like, who are you? And just because you become a millionaire doesn't mean you're accepted.
Wait, why you come over here? Okay, you got a lot of money, but why are you over here with us?
And that's true of
Go sit at that other table, right?
Whether you're talking about the black bourgeoisie, whether you're talking about, the Rothschilds and, rich families within America or Europe.
Who is the Anderson Cooper people?
Vanderbilts, right? So it's true. That's just the fact of it. That's how it works. Doesn't mean there aren't exceptions. It doesn't mean that you're a lesser person. I'm just saying how they view it and how it tends to work. And I would almost say you have a better chance as a woman, because at least as a woman, you might be able to marry into a class higher. And then, when you marry into that, just like Jillian, right? She was from the trailer park. You marry in. Yeah. And then now you're part of that class. I mean, let's just keep it real. Let's look at our first lady, right? She she came from Eastern Europe, and she met this guy who was a millionaire, says he was a billionaire, but at least, a multimillionaire.
At least his parents was millionaires.
Yeah. But now she's part of that class, right? Because, and she had some kids. She had a kid for him. Right. Yeah. And so that solidifies you. And then your kid is solidly part of that class. That's how you do it, right? If you're a man, it's a little more complex because, remember Prison Bay?
Bruh. Oh, yeah.
Prison Bae got with a billionaire's daughter.
Prison Bae.
You know, y'all know who Prison Bae is. He got with a billionaire's daughter, and I don't know if they had a kid or not together, but, you know, it's just harder for a man to kind of get in there in that same
Jeremy
way.
Meeks, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
But see, you have to...
Jeremy Meeks, yes.
Yeah, you have to win in Rome. You just got to... become them, right? You got to act just like them and do all this, talk like them, eat like them, all that, right? And then the chances of being welcomed in is probably greater.
Mm-hmm. Lady Tina G says, the affair wasn't even Andrea's worst character flaw. It was her whole funky attitude about everything and everybody. Had she actually moved on up, she would have remained a tyrant. You ain't never lied, because the only thing that was going to help her course correct was having a collapse on that asphalt when he pulled up off from her.
So moving up, you never stop, right? Because that's the thing. You have to keep getting more and more, or better and better, or higher and higher, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then the things you do have to be more and more egregious too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I just climbed my way and it took, who knows how much to keep going higher, I still have to do more and more, because I also have to create a higher, because a lot of times those hires ain't even there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she would have definitely been worse. And then it's that positive reinforcement, right? I do all these terrible things and I made it here. What if I do something even more terrible? Where would that put me?
Yeah, it's crazy, but that tends to be how it works, right? What do you think happened to Andrea after the camera stopped rolling? Because, the last time we really see her, is when her ex-husband, or soon-to-be ex-husband, comes in. She's looking real dry. She's in regular clothes. She's not in her fancy corporate wear with the high heel shoes. She's there with her hair in a ponytail, and she got this baby and looking like I don't even know where she is. She looked like she in a hotel lobby or something. I don't know. And he's done dropped some money off and he's leaving. She tried to kiss him. She tried to get her man, but she tried to get her man back. And he was like, nah, I'll give you a little couple dollars for this baby, but that's it.
Yeah, your boy didn't wrap it up with a bow. Like I was saying, Charlotte, she had some redemption and stuff, right? Andrea, she just didn't. It was just like, you just terrible from the beginning. You're terrible at the end. Oh, well, nobody cares about you.
Julian said she was in extended stay motel. Like, that is a hell of a fall from grace.
Oh, that's another
Tyler Perry movie. But that was a heck of a fall. And then, is it MC? MC says Andrea is seeing, quote, clients.
Bruh. Oh, at the extended stay. Bruh, y'all really going
Y'all
in.
are going in on her. Lady Tina G says, I believe she was actually humbled and she and Chris became good co-parents.
Co-parents? It ain't even his child.
Well, but he wasn't going to abandon the kid.
I'm going to abandon
the
him.
Baby don't have no daddy.
How old was the baby?
6, maybe. I don't know. Maybe he was younger than that. He was school age because he was coming over
I was
after
about to say,
school.
you baby, you'll forget about me. You won't even know I existed.
Shut up. Do y'all hear Heit over here talking? Man.
I remember this one guy who was around, but that ain't my daddy. My daddy, that white man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh, that's terrible. But I think that's part of the redemption story, and part of Chris's character arc is that in spite of everything bad that happened to him, he still stayed true to his actual character, except the one lapse where he had to do the backhand. But we forgave him for that, But at the end of the day, he still was like, this is a child. The child didn't have nothing to do with any of this. Tell me from the military, because it's one of the things we had talked about. Y'all already know Heit was, was a Marine or is a Marine?
No, because they would say is. Marines will get mad if you don't say is.
Yes. So, but you were saying like back, there would be people like that would have been deployed and coming back, and then their wife got a baby.
Oh yeah, bro.
And it's a lot of people taking care of other people's biological children, and some by choice, some by knowledge, and some not.
So it's real crazy. So let me tell you what happened one time. You got your higher ups, right? And they, when you're in, they seem much older, but they're not really much older than you, right? But you got your higher ups, and you got people deployed, and a lot of people in the military is married, right? And the married people, they live in base housing sometimes. So higher up, it's like, hey, y'all come on over, for, I don't know, a weekend or something, whatever. And then his pitch, because we like, no, nobody want to hang out with no higher ups, right? His pitch was that it's going to be women there whose husbands are deployed. And I'm like, you're going to deploy, right, bro? And you married, right? Like, what? It's just, well, it's kind of probably like Jillian, right? The whole Jillian thing. Well, it's just going to happen. It's just part of being in that life, right? So, he's just helping perpetuate the cycle,
Yeah.
Y'all come over here and come mess with some of these married women, basically.
Let me tell you, AG says in the chat, I wonder if William convinced his wife to stay with him. Yes, he did. But see, the wife wanted the benefits of being, she grew her thick skin on the advice of her mother-in-law. And so the wife wasn't trying to leave. Let's be clear about that. But you saw that the last vision we saw of them was they were sitting in silence at dinner. The relationship is not good. The wife is probably going to go off and be doing her thing with the pool boy. William going to keep doing what he does, but it will not be blatant and disrespectful because the wife is getting that in check. Right. That's probably what I see for them in the future. And then, William is reckless. He gonna screw up again because that's just what he does.
And he probably, basically he got fired from his job and stuff. Right. So you're going to be scratching and trying to get back up to where you were, too. And then if your wife leave you, what's that going to do?
And in the end,
she's going to take some of that stuff.
I think that we know his mama didn't leave her money to him. His mama, I think, left the money to Alice, probably because Alice rolls up in her car at the end. Because at the end of the film, Alice closes her shop. She's like, I have spent my life taking care of other people, and now I'm going to save the rest of my life for me. And she takes off, and she's about to go on a road trip by herself, and she's got the picture of her and Charlotte. And she's in Charlotte's car, so maybe Charlotte left her the car. But I don't know. I think Charlotte was so outdone by her son and what he pulled in the end. She cut him out the will. I think she did.
But if you made it this far into this nice long video, type clients in the comments so we'll know you're one of the real ones who stick around to the end.
And be sure to check out one of the videos that's on the screen right now. And also be sure to visit axiom.app where you'll find all of our recent videos in one place so that you can watch them here on YouTube because they got links there. And check out our merch while you're there.